Hello, folks. This is George Almodovar. This is a continuation of a vivid dream I had in 2006. As I stated before, the nanobite technology and how they created a virus, and the virus basically will be able to control through satellite. So they could actually pinpoint to a person, and that person will be compelled to move over or go to where they want through some form of mind control. I know it's weird, guys, but as I said, it is a dream. However, there was one thing I want to say, and that has to do in regards to Jesus. In that dream, and it was a very long dream, I actually saw Jesus, okay? Not the Jesus that we see today or that people believe, but I'm not going to get into that religious stuff. But I saw Jesus basically that he basically flipped the tables over in the synagogues outside and started whipping, a couple of people. Now, that's actually in the scriptures, so I don't know why I had that dream. But in that dream, the reason why he was upset, because I know a lot of times we think as Jesus as a nice guy, which of course he was, but I'm saying, we see him, we have this perception of if they slap you on your face, the Christian put the other side of the cheek. Well, Jesus was more as a rebel in that dream, okay, which is why they a lot of people in power hated him, because he was bringing a lot of knowledge to earth. And one of the things was, at that time when he flipped the table, was because there was money changers, right, that basically people will come over every certain years because they had to do the census and file taxes or pay taxes, believe it or not. So in those times, think about it, there was no cars and all that, so people had to travel miles during deserts and all that to go and report the newborn child, which sometimes it took even it was long journeys. So people will wait, but they had to report the child before they was 2 years old from he was born. So they will make that pilgrimage. I forgot the word right now. And they will migrate and go to report that child and pay the taxes. Well, when they were there, of course, they needed to buy food and like any commercials we have today. So they used to use coins, for example, gold or silver, and these money changers will actually come and debase the currency. So think about, if you don't know what debasing the currency is, think about a coin, a gold coin, and you get a filing, and you start filing the coin on the sides, and you remove part of that gold, okay? And since gold was weight, they used to measure by weight, then, or silver, right? Then you will go to buy something and you basically was being robbed, okay? So he was so upset about that he actually whipped them outside the temple, okay? So just to give you an idea. Now, fast, going to the future here. I want you to remember this. When the Europeans settled here in the Americas, right? You already know for a fact there was Indians. Think about this. They brought in smallpox. They were actually, they knew. They were a lot more advanced than we give them credit for. They were actually given the chiefs with smallpox and infected millions of Indians and died. Okay? And of course, even back then, they will demonize the Indians, right? Red Indians and all that. And, kill them, rape them, burn the village. This is all fact. You know this now as fact. So we've been lied to, even in our history. Remember, we've been lied to how Christopher discovered America, all these other stuff. And as years went by, the years of enlightenment, we know that we've been lied to. Okay, I love my country. I love what we stand for. But within our country, I believe that there's are coups within the government happening right now, and I also believe that other people took over, powerful people. And think about the smallpox. Well, we all heard about the Spanish flu, right? And it killed 50 million people. Okay, I think 675,000 here in America, but 50 million people. Do you know what happened? Okay, you may not want to accept this, but if you do the research, you see that it actually started here in America. It wasn't in Spain. It was just reported in Spain from a media. So the media made it seem as it started in Spain, and obviously after tracking it down, we know that it actually started here in America with soldiers, and those soldiers were in ships, and I forgot the name. I could even search it for you. And they went over to Europe, and this is during World War I, and spread the Spanish flu. Okay, and we know this because when it first happened, doctors make records, and it came out on the newspaper that something was happening. They wasn't sure. So these soldiers actually went and spread this throughout the world in World War I. Okay, we were at war, so we spread it. Now, coincidence? I don't know. You tell me. Me personally, I'm very skeptical. Now, that was again, that was back in the 1918. Okay, now, I want you to also understand that in 1913, we started what's called the Federal Reserve Bank, all right, which isn't federal, isn't a bank. It was powerful family, and they basically took over. They did it hidden in December 23rd, right before Christmas, when the Congress was not in session, to pass something that back then nobody wanted a centralized bank, which is, I think, is a problem we have today. A lot of powerful people, but I'm not going to get too much into it. You do your own research if you want to believe it or not, okay? Because this kept happening, and basically 1929 is why, after the Federal Reserve Bank was created, 1929, America filed for bankruptcy. That's right, America filed for bankruptcy in 1929. Okay, 1933, we had Teddy Roosevelt, and he actually confiscated people's gold. So if you think your gold is safe and all that, think about that. And here in America, in 1933, they confiscated gold. Now, I want to go back a little, because remember that during World War I, and then after, during World War II, which was after the confiscation of gold, right, many other countries started following suit, all right? So I want you to see the way the world government is. Basically, see it as a pyramid, right? We all know what a pyramid is, right? So on top of that pyramid, you have family, okay, that own most of the wealth in the world. Underneath that pyramid, you have the world governments, okay? And underneath those world governments, right, you will have the media, for example, right? Then you will have corporations. Then you have your local politicians, for example, right? Now, those local politicians, a lot of them, they do have good intentions, okay? Obviously, some of them are crooked. We know that. But if you think about it, those are just players. And you could keep changing the players all you want, but the game remains the same. The people in power are what we call the shadow government, those elite. And they pass law that benefits them. I mean, they monopolized law. So they could turn around right now and say, again, that gold is illegal. And again, they'll take your gold away. I mean, they could change the Bitcoin. They could say Bitcoin, if you are having anything involved in Bitcoin, is illegal. Just to give you an idea, they control the laws. Now, getting back to the Spanish flu. That happened with the Spanish flu. It happened when they spread smallpox to the Indians. We know this to be a fact. All right. Now, what you may not know is that right now, all right, for the past 2 years, the dollar has been crashing. And if you understand, let me give you a little way about how the dollar works, more or less. You heard about the Federal Reserve Bank, okay? Federal Reserve Bank has 12 members, right? And then these members are different banks. They borrow from the Federal Reserve Bank, okay? The Federal Reserve Bank makes interest. They charge interest, or they drop interest, all right? And right now we have a 0% interest rate, which means the dollar is worth nothing. Now, in the Treasury bond, countries, for example, China and Russia, will come and invest and buy bonds, right? And the bond basically is the debt that America owes. So America will borrow against the Federal Reserve Bank. And right now, just so you can give you an understanding, we owe so much money that when we keep borrowing from them, it's just to pay back the interest rate. And the taxes we collect as a government is not enough to cover that interest rate. So forget about the principal. There was never a real principle. The money's created out of thin air, basically. And the only security was, again, gold. So every country besides Cuba, all right, Iran, and South Korea don't have a central bank. Think about it. This is why we want to keep trying to take over Iran and all these other countries. We already did it with Afghanistan. We did it with Iraq. We did it with Libya, who didn't have a centralized bank. Okay? So, that being stated, every currency depends on the dollar currency. But if the dollar currency, who was backed by gold, right, then in 1971, it got off the gold standard. It became fiat currency. So it's not backed by nothing but by faith. People think by faith. They said faith. No, it's backed by your indentured servitude. It's backed by the fact that they know that you're going to live X amount of years on average, and you're going to work so much, so you're going to pay so much taxes. And a lot of that taxes, you may think is for, you have your local taxes, but you have, for example, your federal tax and IRS taxes. And a lot of it, honestly, it was unconstitutional. You could research this. This is why the founding fathers never wanted a Federal Reserve Bank. And it wasn't federal, by the way, a central bank. Let me put it that way, a nation central bank. Okay? So, that being stated, every time we went to war, you saw that these Federal Reserve Bank will profit because they will, charge interest to the nation, and then we will buy the weapons and create weapons and fight, and it was very costly. This is what happened in the American Revolution. This is what happened why they want that, they rebel because taxation without representation. And I'm not going to get a lot into that. I want you to research yourself. But basically, the Federal Reserve Bank will lend the United States money. So it's not federal. It's a private entity owned by rich people. Remember, so when you think about, oh, the nation owes so much debt, so a lot of people are so ignorant and naive to think that they owe that to themselves. No. Okay, we owe it to these powerful families. They are the real rulers. Okay, they are the real elite. Now, so I stated, just to give you an idea, after the Federal Reserve Bank in 1913 was enacted, okay, by fraud almost, all right, we had war. We got involved in World War I. We got involved in World War II, Vietnam, all these other wars. There are many presidents that tried to stop them. One of them was John F. K. And you saw what happened. Even Abraham Lincoln, when they tried back then doing a centralized bank, he got killed. So they had tried this 2 times before, up to 1913 when it was founded and enacted, Federal Reserve Bank. Search this. Now, that being stated, just to give you an idea, why I don't trust, and I'm very skeptical about our government, is if you look good, Senator Prescott Bush, if you don't know, you can research it, is George Bush's grandfather, okay? And the first George Bush's father. Senator Prescott Bush had a bank as well as other companies, and there were other companies within Wall Street in New York that actually funded Hitler and the Nazi regime. You can research this. They were selling weapons to both sides of the war while profiting, okay? Think about that. Meanwhile, guess what? They were profiting, racking up, and all these companies were racking up while our tax bill was becoming higher and higher, and our debt was becoming higher and higher because, again, of these wars that we never asked for. See, this was unconstitutional. Back in the Constitution, if you wanted a war, want to participate in a war, believe it or not, you will buy treasury, you will buy war bonds, okay? So now, the federal government here borrows against the treasury, the Fed. They're not federal, remember, the Federal Reserve Bank, and we go to war, and all these companies make huge profits on your back, on your behalf, because then the taxes keep going up. This system is unsustainable, all right? You may think, for example, our capitalist system, yes, the companies compete against each other and they make a product, right? And they keep, and they minimize dropped up prices because they're competing with other companies. But then once that company goes out of business, they raise their product because they have no more competition. And that's what's been going on. Now remember, we have to look out for the stockholders, right? And they always want what? Profit. So how are you going to have profit? What you have to always do, you keep increasing the prices. Something got to give in order to make that profit, right? So either you increase the profits, you sell more, right? Supply and demand, or you reduce people's income. Now, you may think income has gone up, but the fact of the matter is the dollar has what is called an inflation. It's an invisible tax. So if the market right now is at 0, that means the dollar actually doesn't have no value, because what country is going to want to invest on an instrument, on a bond that has no freaking value? I mean, if you're going to invest money yourself, you're going to invest in the stock market. Well, most Americans, honestly, are broke. You think they have a lot of money? No, most people live week by week. So those that do have money will invest in the stock market right now, which is highly inflated. So the dollar basically has no value. And the fact that I happen to know that China, Russia, Iran, and all these countries realize that, because back in the days, it was backed again by gold, right? It was actually value in gold. And all the world's currency has the reserve, and they basically are trading with the dollar, okay? So that's what's backing up the world currency, is the dollar that has no value. It's a pyramid scheme that is bound to crash because it has no real value. Only just the faith. People believe it does, okay? So the fact of the matter is, a lot of these countries realize that, and they started dropping the dollar. They said, wait a minute, I'm buying $1 today, for example, to give you an idea, $1,000, right? For 10 years. But then in 10 years, when I'm going to collect back my money, plus whatever percent they said they were going to give me, 2%, 3%, 4%. But the inflation is much higher. So I'm not making money. I'm actually losing money. And they realize that, so they stopped dropping the dollar and buying gold instead. And every country that has tried that, like Libya, Saddam Hussein, Iraq, you see what has happened. This is what's going on, people. Wake up, okay? So the dollar actually has no bias crashing. So again, this is why I believe this virus, honestly, is man-made. Now, you may trust your government. Again, study what happened to John F. K. in Operation Northwoods. This is a fact. Look it up. This is not a conspiracy theory. within our coup, within our own government, people within our own government, even generals wanted us to go and bomb and use airplanes to bomb our own houses, our own buildings, and kill American citizens so they could get them hyped up so we could invade Cuba. This is a fact. And Lincoln said, no, I'm not going to have no part of this, and even fired some of the generals, some of the people that came with this theory. Okay? And the media always has been used because it's owned by many of these companies, and they promote war because they profit sensationalism. And that's been a fact. Even back even back, like I said, in the Spanish, even back in the day, again, when the Spanish flu, the Spanish flu. So this has been happening. CIA has been involved in this. Okay? And we this basically, they have no borders. They go all around the whole nation, the whole countries, different countries. And this is why, Venezuela, listen, they're next. You know what I mean? And then Iran just show up. They had a courage the other day. This is what happened, unfortunately. And then what happens is, who pays for it? Our soldiers. We sacrificing our human lives, our soldiers, for a system, a scheme that is unsustainable. So this is why I believe it's a global reset. And of course, we needed something drastic, and we took advantage of this. Whether we created it or somebody, we taking advantage of this. And a lot of these medium-sized, small businesses are going to go out of business. I hope I'm wrong. Okay, I said it before. They're going to introduce a new type of currency, maybe electronic, obviously. But again, this is happening. All right, and this is all part of a higher scheme. Look, I know it sounds crazy, but look at this as well. Why over a year now, we broke records. Over 1,000 CEO has stepped down. Even Walmart, this guy, what's his name? Someone is giving selling his bonds, giving away to his kids. We got senators selling. This is bigger than you and I, guys. You are asleep. This is bigger than you and I. This is big, and I hope it doesn't lead us to a major war. Okay, but that's my report. I know what I saw was a dream. But then again, a lot of that dream that I saw, if you saw past video, has become a reality, and things has happened. All right, so it's what it is. Take it for what it's worth, and don't lose faith. Keep your faith in God. Even that, a lot of things has changed, even in the scriptures. But keep your faith in God, and stay in the spirit of love. And hey, there will be a battle of good and evil. You always heard about it in Revelation. You heard it even in different religions, right? And it's going to happen, guys, one way or another. Hopefully it won't be now, right? Hopefully it'll be another generation. But every time we keep getting closer to a new world order. And you see that. 9/11, new world order. Remember Prescott Bush? That was what? George Bush's father. They couldn't do it with John F. K., right? And then 9/11 happens. Again, if you believe that was some box cutters and you believe that theory, that George Bush is bad blood. In my opinion, that was bad blood. Those are people who are bad. They're evil. Okay? And they create, George Bush, grandfather Prescott Bush created the CIA. All right? So if you want to believe what you want to believe, I know I was in New York. The 7 World Trade Center went down. That was demolition style. All right? I know my brothers who worked there and they made it out alive. A lot of people may not know that. In the World Trade Center. There's more that's going on. And eventually, we are in the years of revealing. Things are going to come out. And you're going to realize what's true. Hopefully it won't be too late for you. All right? So keep your faith. Believe in God. And pray. Thank you for watching. God bless.